Hey Joe, I like your show. I tell everybody that's my shit. And if you got a long ride and you like getting high, maybe go and take another hit. We gonna laugh out loud, that's what it's about. Nobody ain't safe no more. And Joe stands out even in the big crowd, cause the motherfucker's 6'4". Hey Joe, it's time to start the show. Up, up, and away we go. Mic check, and I like your flow. Everybody, here's Joe.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Joe Prano podcast. I'm your host, Joe Prano. As regularly, not as always, but as regularly, by my good friend, Pete Cestaro. Pete, how are you?
I'm great, Joe. Good to be here.
You're great. This guy, I asked him if he was ready. He said he was. And then the second we start, he's like, give me a minute. I'm going to use that opportunity to crack a Miller Lite in honor of the first Joe Prano podcast of 2025.
Let's go.
Happy New Year, kid. Pay your rent.
I like your hat.
Thanks. Did you catch it? I said, Happy New Year, pay your rent.
Oh, Happy New Year. Now pay your rent.
That's right. It is that tweet which you put out this year unprovoked. I didn't have to ask you for it, but it was that tweet that has brought us here today. I was like, it's a tradition unlike any other. It's my favorite tweet of the year, every year. And I was like, I got to talk to Pete and see what's going on with Pete. I have a lot of things I want to cover, but first of all, how's your health in 2025? We almost lost you there.
We did. Well, first of all, thank you. That tweet, by the way, really what it's supposed to be is Happy New Year. It's time to pay your rent, or your rent is due. But my health is okay. I'm actually great. All better. Thank you.
Do we have any idea what happened with you? Did we ever get to the bottom of what your illness was, your ailment?
I think Southampton Hospital happened to me. But no, we don't know. I got a bad flu, but it wasn't the flu. They tested me for everything. And they think it was just a bad virus. I got very sick. I was throwing up. I couldn't stop throwing up. Went to the hospital. And because I was also hallucinating. Have you ever done that?
Hallucinated?
Yeah.
Only by choice.
Right. Me too. This was wild. Like I wasn't on mushrooms, but I was hallucinating. Trippy. Saw my dog in my bedroom. She was 5 times the size that she is. And I knew that it wasn't her and that she wasn't in my bedroom, but there she was. Did I tell you this? And then when we went to go to the hospital, because I was like, I should probably go to the emergency room. You know, I can't stop puking and now I'm seeing shit. And by the way, there was a ghost behind her. We got to the car and I see my black Subaru. The hatch is open. The interior lights are on. The doors are open. But that was not the case. It was locked. Seeing shit.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really trippy.
You're all better now.
All better now.
Surfing.
Oh, so then I'll say this. Then I went to Southampton Hospital and they gave me drugs for my nausea and I had these really bad headaches. And then they sent me home. And, you know, it used to be like they send you home from the emergency room and you feel all better, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, you're ready to go home. And I was like, am I ready to go home? I don't feel like I'm ready to go home. You know, I felt sick still. But they sent me home. And then I just started throwing up again. And then I go back the next day and the guy goes, oh, you didn't get the nausea drugs that we gave for you? And I go, no. And he goes, oh, it's because my shift changed. And the next guy didn't see it on the chart or whatever. So he didn't call in your drugs. I'm like, great. So I just spent the whole day throwing up again. And I'm back here.
Oh, did your dad ever come home? No, he died. He died in your hospital. Oh, that's the shift change. Shift change. We were gonna see what was gonna happen. Is we were gonna use the paddles on him, save him. But another guy didn't know he was dying. It's a shift change. You know that's a sense that there are many aspects of the United States specifically that I hate. But the healthcare system is one of them. That's actually how my dad almost died one time, which was he was in assisted living and they almost lost him over a Thanksgiving break. I flew home late on a Thanksgiving evening because we thought my dad was dying. And the nurse or the person in charge of him at the assisted living said, it was the holiday and I didn't want to bother the doctor because, he'd be back on Monday.
No, you don't want to bother him.
Yeah. Just, he's eating. And if he had to take a phone call while he was, in between, turkey and the dessert portion of his day, that'd be really annoying for him.
Yeah.
We could just kill my dad.
Yeah.
That'd be easier for everybody, except of course his family and all his loved ones.
Right. Well, you don't want to see anyone die, but they did use real Cool Whip on that pumpkin pie, and God forbid that we should disturb the good doctor.
The healthcare system in America, I mean, honestly, for the first time, and it's one of our paisans, but for the first time somebody's doing something about it. Luigi Mangione go and killed the guy.
It's one of
fucking love that.
One of our paisans.
Yeah. I talked about this on stage the other day, but speaking of my father, who is gone now, an Italian thing, this, is that typically you name your son after your father. So like a lot of times grandfathers and their grandchildren will be named after one another. So my grandfather's name is Giovanni, which is John, which is why my brother's named John, which is why my cousin's named Jonathan. So your first son, and you have cousins of the same name. My younger brother did not name his son Louis. He named him after himself because Mikey's, an egomaniac.
Right.
So he went Michael Jr. So I have said to my fiance, hey, when we have a son, should we have a son, we've got to name him after my dad. And I was like, we could call him Louis, but we could go full Italian. We could call him Luigi. And she was like, absolutely not. He cannot be Luigi. He can be Louis, and we call him Louis. He can be Lou. And then that kid shot at a healthcare CEO, and she's like, he could be Luigi. And I was like, let's go. Let's go. This guy, he's doing right by me in so many ways.
He has lots of fans. It sounds like you're one of them.
I am. I think that this is well planned. I don't think he's going to be convicted of the crime unless he is, unless he's railroaded. I think he's strategized not being convicted of this crime. I think he might even have not been the guy who did the crime. He's just the one who got caught. Sort of a genius plan right up until he got caught at a McDonald's with the murder weapon and his manifesto. Seems a little too on the nose.
It does certainly seem too on the nose.
I don't think he's a patsy. I think he wanted to get caught there. I don't know. Have you read all about these? Have you read or heard any of the Monopoly theories?
No, I did play Monopoly the other day, though.
Okay. So, it's this Monopoly is this capitalist game. And then he's this anti-capitalist, whatever. Anyway, he got captured. First of all, he went to Starbucks before. And that's where the mask came down. Then he went McDonald's after. Anti-capitalist? People are like, I think he did both of those on purpose. Again, he went to the two faces of corporate greed in America and then got caught. He got caught where there's a stop on the Pennsylvania Railroad. And so there's a lot of little Monopoly Easter eggs that have been sort of throughout this guy's thing. The Monopoly money in his bag that they found.
Sounds like you planned this murder.
Yeah. I think his next play is the get out of jail free card. That's what I think his next play is. Anyway, I am a fan. And you worked in the healthcare industry for a long time. How do you feel about our Paisan's 3D gun murder?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to call him a hero. I feel like he shot a guy.
That's too bad.
Shot a guy in the back. That's not very heroic. But I think it's a sign that the healthcare system is completely fucked up, which it is. And insurance companies ain't great. That's for sure. But I'm not naming my son Luigi.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to do that anyway. This just kicked it over the top. This just made it. That's just a bonus for me.
Yeah. I like the name Lou, by the way.
Yeah.
Like for your son, I like that your dad. In fact, Louis was like my favorite name, but not because of Italian people, because of Black people.
Yeah.
Like
Reggie Lewis.
Specifically, like I think Lou Atwater was a cornerback for the Broncos.
Lou Whitaker.
No, that's Steve Atwater. There was a Lewis on the Broncos. I can't remember his first name. Anyway, I was a huge fan, and I was like, I want to be like him. I'll name my son Lewis.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Have you done stand up since your illness?
I haven't. No.
You were rocking and rolling. You were doing more stand up than me for a second there.
I was, and I'm now on a little hiatus. But I did write today, so that feels good. And I wrote the other day as well. So
we did a little Freaky Friday Bizarro life swap for a second there, where you were doing a ton of stand up comedy and I was working. And you were an unemployed stand up comic, and I was a working man that didn't do stand up comedy.
I know that was a little weird. Now I'm noticing that you're doing more stand up comedy.
A little bit. I applied to 3 comedy festivals today. Also,
nice.
Yeah. One of them was the Slow Fest, which I had you apply to, and I applied to it in hopes that we can do it together. If you don't, the last time I did it was 2021, and I was best of the fest. No big deal. So it seems like it would be weird for them not to invite me back. But I won't be attending unless you are attending. I was like, that'd be fun. It'd be fun for us to do that together.
Well, hopefully I get in. I applied, but then I forgot about it. I mean, when is it? I don't even know.
End of February.
Okay.
And I think the last day to submit is like the 6th.
Oh, so there's still time.
There's still time, just till the end of the week. I literally applied today. I applied to that and the Lone Pine, Big Pine Comedy Festival, and then the inaugural Athens, Georgia Comedy Festival. Because big REM fan, so why not? There you go.
There you go. Well, that's great. Yeah, I haven't been doing it. Well, I am going to be doing my show again in April, so I will start ramping up again for that. Don't have anyone booked for it yet, but we have an agreement to do the show again in April. And as you know, Danny passed away, the owner of the venue where I do my show, Comedy Epox. So we'll have to do some type of memorial for him. Still a little bit in shock about that, but that will be an emotional and exciting show. So,
has it sent shockwaves through the Hamptons?
I'm sure it has, and I'll go speak to Mike tomorrow. I've just got back in town. I'm sure people have been coming in. He's the mayor of this town, so yes. But yeah. I haven't experienced it. No, I'm still in denial. There's not been any news about it, and I had a dream the other night that he was still alive, and I've been Googling like ferociously, like just trying to see any story about it, and there's been nothing.
Wow. No obit or anything like that?
Not yet, no. Happened over the holidays. But in my dream, I saw him at Pox.
Shift change.
He was alive. Yeah, shift change, exactly. And as I got closer to him, his face became like illuminated. And I could tell like he was in heaven, I guess. And he was like, you got to let this go, man. You got to stop Googling, you got to let it go. I'm gone. And I was like, whoa.
This was a dream?
It was a dream.
Hallucination?
I don't know. No, it was a dream. Yeah, trippy, right?
What are you drinking there?
The Fountain of Youth, Scotch.
Scotch. What type of Scotch?
I don't know. I could.
It just says Scotch on the bottle.
No, I'm just not good with like book titles or. But this is what I'm drinking.
Okay. Sure.
Wow, that's really uncoordinated of me. There we go.
Lagavulin, 16.
Scotch whiskey.
Did you purchase that?
No, I haven't purchased alcohol for myself in ages. Someone brought it over here.
Brought it over as a gift for you guys, or just
Probably, yeah.
Brought it over to drink and then it stayed.
Probably that.
I have been drinking a lot of Japanese whiskey recently. This is my new kick.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing more to that. Just really enjoy it.
What do you drink it with?
Ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to drink Scotch because I feel like it's the fountain of youth. Like my grandmother drank it and she lived to 104. You see a lot of really old people drink it, but it's an acquired taste, and I can't say I'm there yet.
I'm not a Scotch guy. That's the thing. I don't like.
I'm not either.
I don't like a peaty whiskey. I like a bourbon. So I drink a lot of Makers. I drink a lot of Bullet. But I've gotten into these Japanese whiskeys, and the ones. What's weird is obviously you have to be from Kentucky to be a bourbon technically. But I tend to like the ones that are more bourbony than the ones that are more Scotchy. Scotch obviously has to be from Scotland to be Scotch. So with the Japanese one, there's no way to tell unless I go read reviews, which I'm not, what they're going to do like. But I've bought like 4 or 5 different bottles recently, and I'm just taste testing them, and I go back through them. Yeah, I don't know. They're a little bit lighter. I don't know what the fermenting process or whatever is that in Japan that makes them a little bit lighter, but I like it unless they tend to go toward the Scotch. And then I'm like, it's a little, like it.
No, I don't like this. I'm just drinking it because I think it might make me
because you think it's good for you.
Yeah, that's
amazing. It's a great reason to be.
Yeah, I think it's some like hack.
Yeah.
So I'll try to acquire a taste for it, but it's not going to happen.
Eternal life hack.
Yeah, but I'm going to finish this bottle and I won't drink Scotch again.
Okay. I wanted to talk to you about a variety of subjects, but one of them, and I messaged you about it. It's a little bit of a, old news now, but well, let me start with this. Have you watched any stand-up comedy on television lately? Like, do you do any of that stuff? Do you watch any?
No, but I did. Carrie, my wife, was watching a little bit of Nate's special that just came out.
We just watched that last night,
and I caught some of that. And my only comment is, I feel like he was doing jokes from like years ago. Like he did a joke about a donkey or something that I remember. I thought I'd seen him do that a long time ago. But I came downstairs because she was laughing so hard, and I wanted to see what she was laughing at.
It did feel like there was a couple things, and I don't watch like a ton of Nate's stuff. Like I don't like, he doesn't put out clips because he's always like recording these specials or whatever. But I did feel like when I watched it too, I was like, have I heard that before?
Yeah, that's what I was like. I thought I'd heard that before.
The other thing about it, and by the way, I'm such a Nate fan because he's such a nice guy and he does everything right. Like, he's not a fucking whore. He hasn't changed his comedy to like appeal to some sort of thing. He's a little bit of a late bloomer. And I mean, he literally blew up when he was 40 and now he's 45 and he's the king of comedy. So I'm a super fan. And I approve, like, if he wants to do his special at the Rose Bowl because he can get 100,000 people in there, like, I am very happy for him to do that. It felt like to record a special in an arena felt very weird. It felt like too big of a room for a special.
Yeah. He did that before, though, didn't he, in Phoenix?
I think he has. Yeah. Even if that's what like your tour calls for, it feels like if you're going to put out like the special, just do it in a, you could do it in a big theater and still have like a couple thousand people there. It just felt too big. It felt like the jokes, there's something about a super big room where it takes a little while for the jokes to get to them, and then the laughs to get back to you. And even though it makes for a good show in person, it's not as good as, I mean, you'd also like to see the Rolling Stones in a 500 seat theater too.
No, you're right. That's the other thing I kind of noticed is it seemed at times like a speech and not comedy because you had to wait so long for it to get back.
Yeah.
What a nice problem to have.
I know. Exactly. But still, like, it feels like I won't ever have that problem, but I don't think I would do it there even if I did have that problem. But
I did some shows with Nate back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, in the early days, maybe even before I met you, like that long ago. I remember him. Nice guy. Yeah, funny. But just, yes, always seemed like a really nice guy.
Yeah. And some really, really funny moments in the special I saw. He has a great bit about dogs getting into bed with you, and you have to assert dominance. Yeah. And it's a great line. It's like this isn't 1980 when you just like tie up a wolf outside. It's like, hey, we should go outside. He's like, I wouldn't.
So this isn't new bits, but I was thinking of something along those lines today. We took the dogs for a walk on this hike in the trails, and Haley, my dog, pooped, and then she like kicked to cover it up. I don't know if your dogs do this, but they don't cover it up when they kick.
No.
It's like, it's not even close.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a time when maybe they did, like, evolutionary, they actually had to cover it so maybe something wouldn't come and kill them. But now they're just like, I'll just go through the motions. I eat out of a bowl.
How do they know to do that? Like I don't know the evolution. Like I know how evolution works, but like, how does the evolution of thought, like how does a thought to do that get passed down? Like, I've never understood that specifically that thing. And then also like all dogs hate the mailman. Like they hate the uniform.
Right.
Like, what is it? Through generations, every dog has been haunted by a uniform.
Yeah. But they don't cover it.
No.
It's very half-ass effort.
Yeah. I mean, even my dogs do it in the yard. All they do is kick up the grass, and they're not covering anything.
Was there a time when they did? I feel like there was.
Yeah. Well, we will do new bits, but I would like to ask one other thing about these specials, because this is sort of what I was saying with the old news. Have you watched the Anthony Jeselnik special?
I haven't. I think that was my homework too.
And that was your homework, but it was also pretty good. Like as far as comedy specials go, having a Nate Bargatze special and a Anthony Jeselnik special in the last 2 months is good for me. I don't watch a lot of stand-up. Those are two guys. I'd put them with, Bill Burr, Louis, as guys who are actively putting things out, who I will check it. I'll go tune into it. It falls off pretty fast. Like I guess Chappelle, but I don't even know if I've watched. I don't know if I watched the last Chappelle. I think I did, but that's a whole other, Chappelle story. But Anthony Jeselnik had an incredible joke about Joe Rogan,
which I think I saw. I saw that.
It was on the socials a lot.
Yeah,
which was like Instagram. And then he did a thing about cancel culture, and like, I hate cancel culture. And then he was like, that's me doing the impression of a comedian, a shitty comedian trying to get on Joe Rogan,
right?
Or whatever. Then he has a whole bit about Rogan. Anyway, I'm fascinated by something that's going on in comedy today. It seems like there's a weird line in the sand, and everybody is on one side of it or the other. And the side isn't pro Joe Rogan or anti Joe Rogan. It is actively sucking Joe Rogan's dick or not. And so some people are indifferent about it. Some people are mocking Joe Rogan. So I'm mostly indifferent. But then there is part of me that like dislikes him because of some of his politics and whatever. And And I'm working with Jay Moore now, and Jay Moore's got a Joe Rogan beef, which I think is valid. And but what's weird to me is, and this is where I think it's an interesting line in the stand in comedy. The majority of people that are like sucking Joe Rogan's dick, and I say the majority of people because, you know, Theo Von's friend was Joe Rogan and he's funny, and, you know, Mark Norman's been on Joe Rogan and he's funny, and Shane Gillis has been on Joe Rogan and he's funny, or whatever. But 99.99999% of Joe Rogan fans that are in comedy are the worst comedians of all time. And that is an interesting thing where, like, I feel like when we were young, everybody was like everybody I liked was like a Letterman guy. Like if you liked Letterman, I was like, oh, I could be friends with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody's sort of like, Comedic Lighthouse is this podcaster who's never told a funny joke in his life, but insists on still being in comedy. Joe Rogan is to comedy what Tom Selleck was to baseball. Like, you know how he always just like showed up at the Detroit Tigers fucking spring training and took batting practice?
Right.
You're like, okay, you're rich and you're famous and you do this other thing, but you insist on, like, why do you insist on taking batting practice? Did Joe Rogan just come through your chimney?
Something just broke. Very strange. Oh, you know what? It was a piece of ice, I think.
Falling apart? You're a skittish man these days.
Well, no, it was a weird thing, but I don't want to distract from this. So I understand your point is the people that are fans, the comedians that are fans of his,
tend to be the worst comedians of all time.
Right? How do you know they're fans of his?
So this is where I was going with this. Okay, so, and I'm trying to think if you were on this. Did you ever do the show at Minimal Golf Club with me, or did you just go there with me one time?
I just went there with you, and they talked about doing, I think, the first one.
So we did a show at Minimal, and it went great. And the second show at Minimal, the guy hit me up, and he was like, hey, there's this dude. I'm not going to name his name, but there's this dude, and he's been around, and he's a comic, and he wants to help with the show. So the next one, we're going to do this date. Book all your people, but he's going to host it, MC, whatever. So I get there, and this guy's like, I play a little guitar, I rap a little, I tell jokes, I'll host. Okay, great. You never know how this is going to go.
The toothpick?
Yeah. So he goes up, he plays a little guitar, raps a little, does some jokes. It's the worst 10 minutes of stand-up comedy I've ever seen in my life. Aggressively the worst. Head and shoulders. He's the worst single comedian I've ever worked with. And the audacity, the balls, like he was like, I've done this and this. I'm like, you're crazy. You're an insane person because you think you're qualified at this. You're the worst comedian I've ever seen. So then we put up one comic. He does great. Friend of mine. He then puts up his friend, who's the second worst comic I've ever seen in my life. Eats shit, kills the room. The guy who's hosting goes, I'm going to go up, little intermission kind of thing. I'll do 10 minutes of music, and then I'll keep the show going. And I was like, listen to me. Go up and bring up the next comic. And I got mad. I was like, you have actively ruined this show up to this point.
Right.
And the last thing I need is you doing more time or some sort of intermission. I need to get to more of the comics that I have booked so that we can save this fucking show that you're actively trying to ruin. Anyway.
You were angry.
I was mad. Finally, my comics go up, blah, blah, blah. I go up. The show comes together fine. So this Anthony Jeselnik joke about Joe Rogan makes its rounds on the internet. And the people that reply under it, who are just so fucking triggered that it was a good joke, first of all. And he didn't really go at Joe Rogan.
No, the joke was like, if you're a Joe Rogan fan, you're a lunatic.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Every comedian whose name I recognized in the replies was a terrible comedian, including the guy who ruined the Minimal Show that wrote, and I quote, he wrote under Anthony Jeselnik's tweet, or a tweet that somebody put of Anthony Jeselnik, worst comedian ever. And I was like, you are literally the worst comedian ever.
Maybe he's talking about himself.
It's a terrible place in comedy that the sort of lighthouse for a lot of comedians is a terribly unfunny UFC announcer.
Do you think that Joe Rogan even cared that Jeselnik did that joke? Like, I feel like he probably thought it was funny.
Probably not. Here's the thing. Joe Rogan, whatever you think, Joe Rogan could be the, Charlie Rose of our time, or the fucking whatever. Like, I have not, like, Joe Rogan provides something for a lot of people. He's one of the biggest podcasters in the world. Great. I don't listen to it, but there are people out there. Here's what Joe Rogan isn't: funny in any way, shape, or form. He's just not a funny guy.
No.
And the people that think so are actively ruining comedy.
Yeah, I mean, you get caught up in these social media comments sometimes. They really get to you, you know? I wouldn't think to look at the comments of the Jeselnik joke.
It's weird to me. I get caught up in the comments because it's like, I open the comments like, oh, let's see what people are saying. And if I open that up and let's just pick a random person, like Mike Vecchione let's say Mike Vecchione had replied and been like, this joke sucks. I'd have been like, damn, he's fucking going. Like, Mike Vecchione's a good comedian who may or may not have been on Rogan. I don't know. Like,
he's been on Rogan.
Yeah. Okay. So great example, right? Like, funny comedian, been on Rogan, so has like reason to defend him or whatever, or Joe List, or, Eddie Ift or Lachlan or anybody. But the people that are defending, I'm like, you are the voice of the worst comedians alive. That's who's defending you in the comments. I recognize names in the comments, and they're all people who are fucking terrible at comedy. That's I just think this is a weird state of comedy. I think it's bigger than this conversation. I think it's like actively, there's like two worlds in comedy. There's people who are like these Joe Roganites.
Well, I don't think that the Joe Roganites are Joe Roganites because of his comedy. Maybe they are. Maybe those guys are huge fans of his as well. But I don't think people are singing the praises like people sing the praises of like Chappelle or something. They call him the GOAT or whatever, or Louis C.K. for a while there. That's all purely just because of their comedy. But Joe Rogan obviously is a career maker with that podcast. So I think people are more like singing his praises for opportunity as opposed to like they're huge fans of his.
Right. Isn't that even worse?
Well, how does that affect comedy though? He's not like the lighthouse of comedy because everyone's trying to do him. Like I feel like what I've noticed is a lot of people are doing Nate now. But I'm not really familiar with Joe Rogan's comedy, but I don't think people are doing him. I think.
Oh, you mean doing like an impression of him?
He's influencing comedy. I think he's just.
What I think he's doing is, so in a way, I agree with you. There was a time where everybody did a Dave Attell impression,
right?
Because he was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's what people are doing. People are doing an impression of the people that Joe will have on. Everybody's doing a Tony Hinchcliffe. Everybody's doing an Ari Shaffir. Everybody's doing a Shane Gillis.
But he has good comedians on.
What's that?
But those are good comedians.
I mean, two of the three, for sure. Tony Hinchcliffe, I would put as one of the world's hackiest fucking shock jock. He's the equivalent of a Cleveland morning radio host in 1985. Is like, let's see if we can say retard and get away with it. Let's call a fucking toilet company and tell them we shit in it and we want to get a refund. So
fear is, or your concern is that people are, because he's the lighthouse, people are now trying to do the kind of comedy that he likes that will get them on his show. That's a valid concern. I could see that. People
I
should
think
just
it's, but also it's like Anthony Jeselnik is a fantastic comedian. His special wasn't like blowing me away, but it was good. I think he's a great comedian. He's a great joke writer. He's one of the better comics working today. The idea that people who are in comedy will attack him for making fun. It's like, this is a weird, what I don't like about what's happening in comedy is it's getting divided like we are politically, where it's like, you're either this like shock jock, want it, all I want to do is get on Rogan, or you're just somebody who like has original thought.
Well, I think a lot of things, because of the social media algorithm, are getting divided. But I mean, I'm not a big Joe Rogan fan, but I'm also not a big Joe Rogan hater. I don't care. Like, and I find it hard to like, I love Norm Macdonald. There's certain comedians that I'll send you stuff on Instagram. I just love them. But I understand that not everyone loves it. It's all subjective. Like, I'm not a big Jeselnik fan. I understand he's a tremendous comedian and incredibly successful, but I don't watch him and laugh my ass off, But as a comedian, I don't really laugh at too many people, but I do,
You have a great Joe Rogan punchline in your set.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a great joke. And I feel like it's the kind of joke that those people would hear and then be like, who the fuck is this fucking hack?
Well, they would write to be like, who is this guy?
Right.
But I mean, no offense to Joe Rogan by it, but it gets laughs because it's true. People put butter in their coffee because Joe Rogan told them to. People do anything. They eat all those greens and stuff because people, he tells them to do it. I don't care though. Like, and I feel like it's really hard to, these are artists, and some people absolutely love this stuff. I had someone send me a link to Joe Rogan's special and was like, this is amazing. You have to watch it. Do you want to know who it was?
Yeah.
Damo. Years ago.
Incredible.
Yeah. And I think Damo was hilarious. So who knows?
Yeah. Your brush with death has made you, you've come out of it like the guy in Office Space who now doesn't care anymore and is filleting fish at his desk. I feel like there is a little bit, I have a fear, and this isn't just like it's not just like a kind of the state of comedy because of like a lack of work for me or anything like that. I just think that comedy always goes through these like peaks and valleys. And I feel like we might be in a valley. And I think this might be an extended one because it's just, everything feels the same. Everything feels like everybody's trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, I kind of get that feeling too. And I feel like it was like that for probably when Seinfeld and Paul Reiser were doing their thing. And then there's there's some boom, but all the great ones will tell you, don't do that. Obviously you start off with your influences, but you got to try and find your own voice as best you can, because nobody wants to hear a bunch of, the same thing. What's most interesting is like your own perspective on whatever it is.
Like, everybody who follows me and knows me knows I don't even have any sort of feelings at all about Nikki Glazer's comedy, other than the fact that I think she or somebody that writes for her absolutely stole a joke from me. And I think that anybody who calls themselves a Swiftie should get hit by a car. But as for like comedy, like, I don't really like, she's fine. And I understand why, like, she has a fan base. It feels weird to me that like the NFL, like, she's like roasting people post game on like Amazon in the NFL. It's like, we can do jokes about things. Like you could write a joke about the NFL. It doesn't have to, every joke doesn't have to be like, it just feels like everything now is like a roast of people in one way or another.
Yeah, that's popular trend, but that's been popular too. I didn't know she had this thing. I saw an ad for it, but I didn't even, I don't even know what it was. But you get in these beasts, like you really get angry.
Well, I don't have a beef with, there's no beef here. My beef is with the industry. My beef is with comedy. I like it feels like there's not no one's like, hey, have you seen this guy? And then I watch it, I go, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll get the question from somebody, have you heard of like Shane Gillis? And I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about here? It's like asking if I've heard of like Jalen Brunson. Like,
yeah, I think it's a fair analogy.
Yes, I've heard of like the guy who's
Huge,
selling out arenas. You know what I mean? Yeah, it just feels, you dipped your toes into the water. I know you've been on the bench post illness, but you dipped the toes in the water. So I just wanted to like get a state of comedy sense from you, because I feel like we're in a bad way right now.
Well, I'll tell you, in preparation for my show, and because I don't get booked a ton, I would go into the city and do like really obscure open mics. And I am pretty inspired by the young dudes that are out and women that are out there. Like there's a lot of funny people, and it's not all the same thing. But then you go to clubs or you do a little bit of road work like with you, and you do start to see people. Yeah, there's a lot of similarity, like I was saying. And I've just noticed kids I talk to, like they speak like they're Shane Gillis or like that's a compliment to him,
Yeah. I guess, it's funny because I was talking to Adam Carolla about it recently. He was like, people always like, come on. He mentioned somebody who was on Letterman. He mentioned like a producer on Letterman. He's like, you know who I'm talking about? I was like, I don't. He's like, I thought like Letterman was your guy. I was like, I can tell you everything that happened from 1994 to the end of Letterman's career. I was like, prior to that, I was 13. Like I wasn't up. But before he was on at 11:30, I was too young to be up at 12:30 watching Letterman. So you're going, it's like everybody, but I feel like that was a thing where it was like people were like, oh, Letterman, or oh, this, and it was like it felt like that like was a petri dish for like a good, like the comedians who came out of like that fandom tended to be good, smart, funny thing. And I feel like, it's sort of like, and we can shift into this. It's sort of like with the NBA. Everybody's like, now everybody wants to be Steph Curry, and now we're shooting 75 threes a game or whatever. I think that's, like the Joe Rogan of the world for comedy. It's like Steph Curry is, high schoolers shouldn't all be like jacking up all these threes, but like also we don't all have to do like roast. I'm gonna get good at roasting. Like I saw a club asked me for my avails recently, and I checked out their website to see who had been on, and somebody whose name I know but I won't shout out was like on their website. I was like, that guy's headlining, and then in the bio it was like, as seen on Kill Tony. That's an open mic. You know what I mean? As seen on an open mic. That's crazy to me.
He's not sitting at the dais. He
was like a,
Yeah, but these people are really popular now,
Right.
And some of them are return guests, and maybe he slots them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I don't really watch it, but I have seen the clips on social media.
You've seen him at the Village Lantern.
That's the comedy shop now. I do that club.
Let's do some new bits. You got some new bits?
I don't have a lot of new bits, but I have some new bits.
I want to do new bits, but it can't be you roasting a celebrity no one gives a fuck about.
Um, you go on X? Are you an X guy?
Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm on and off. I go through spurts and bunches.
What are we supposed to call it?
I refuse to call it X.
Okay. Well, I thought I was being hip. But anyway, when I go on there, you ever go on there and you see they'll have a video, like they had one of the car blow up yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And the video will just be like this. And they do videos like this all the time. They'll go, notice the fire burning. Notice how it's burning in the video, you know? And I look at it, I never noticed how it's burning. Like
You never know what they're trying to get
I
you to
never
notice.
know what they're saying. They'll go like Beyonce will be dancing. They'll be like, notice how she's dancing. And I look at it, just looks like she's like, I never noticed. Have you ever
I'm
has that ever
watching
happened?
it.
Yeah.
Am I noticing it?
I don't know, like I'm not gonna fall for this again. I'm just gonna watch the fire. I'm not gonna notice anything. But they never tell you like what it is. Do you notice? Am I missing something here?
No. I think it's
No.
just a way of them saying, look at it. But I like it. It's like, what am I supposed to notice?
Yeah. What am I supposed to notice? I don't notice it. This isn't really, I mean, none of these are obviously bits, but I was watching the match with Nate, the golf match, and Ken Griffey Jr. was in it. And I was watching with my nephew, and Ken Griffey Jr. was one of the players. And I commented.
Did they do a match recently?
Yeah, a celebrity match.
Okay.
It was a golf match with celebrities. Barkley, the same cast and crew hosting it, but I think Barkley also played it. They had like pairs, teams.
Yeah.
And Bargatze was in it with the guy who did comedy, the NBA guy, big guy who did comedy for a little while. It was his partner. You know what I'm talking about? Jumped over a car in the dunk contest.
Blake Griffin.
Yes.
Blake Griffin played golf.
Yeah. He was his partner. But anyway, Griffey was partners with, I think, his dad, maybe. I forget. But anyway, my point was my nephew, I made a comment about it, and he goes, I don't know who that is. And he likes sports. Didn't know
about who? Ken Griffey Jr.?
Didn't know who it was.
Wow.
Yeah. My point is just like, what are we worried about? Like, no matter how great you could be at something, and no one's going to know who the fuck you are in not that long. Like, you'll still be alive. Ken Griffey Jr. is still, he's like my age. He's in good shape. No one knows who he is. Like, none of this younger generation has any idea who the guy is. And he's arguably the greatest player, one of the greatest players of all time. So
there was we've talked about it on Dirty Sports, but Cody Bellinger, your favorite new Yankee, he did not know who Seinfeld was or what Seinfeld was.
That's right.
Seinfeld's actively doing comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. Don't worry about anything.
Don't worry about anything. No one, no matter how great you are, no one's going to remember you. So you might as well just enjoy it.
I've got one.
All right. Yeah, please go.
So every time I'm around like a baby or like it's my nephew or my niece or a friend's baby or whatever, like I feel like I'm pretty good with kids, but I also like don't overthink it. I'm like, all right, the baby's crying, like pick up the baby. You know what I mean? And then I'll like
sound like Bill Cosby. The baby's crying. Pick up the baby.
Pick up the baby. Rock the baby. You know what I mean? And then they're like, get the baby ready for bed. So or help us bathe the baby. And I'll just be like, all right, go in, a little shampoo, get the shampoo off, take a washcloth, wipe the baby down. Let's go. And then they're like, you're forgetting 10 steps. And I'm like, what am I forgetting? They're like, we got to moisturize the baby. We got to take the baby's got to get moist, but then but with like a light sort of like liquidy type of coating. Then it needs a cream coating. Now it needs to be like dusted. And I realized that women treat babies like men treat brisket. Like women treat a baby like a man treats a nice piece of meat, and both sides don't understand it. Like women will just be like, so I just like, I'll be like, babe, you should like cook a brisket today. And she'll be like, so just like, should I just like roast it? And I'm like, we have to fucking take this thing out. We got to pat it dry. We got to like oil it down. We got to put it in a smoker. It needs like 8 to 10 hours. Like,
yeah, they don't get it.
we're not going to, she's like, can I just put it in the crock pot? I'm like, the crock pot? It's a baby. Like,
Yeah, you can't just put a baby in the crock
kids
pot.
just put a baby in the crock pot.
No, that's good. I like it. And it's true. We're overthinking this stuff with the kids, you know.
And most men are overthinking their barbecue.
Yeah. I made a nice chicken dish tonight. Baked it, just chopped up yellow potatoes, took the chicken thighs and leg combo, put them all in like a dish and just put it in the oven, baked it. Best way to cook.
Great.
Because the most stressful part of cooking is the timing, right?
Yeah.
Is this going to be ready when in time? But if your whole thing is just one, and I put garlic and olive oil and spices and all that, and it was delicious. But just put it in the oven, hour and 25 minutes, take it out, eat it. It's great.
I make an important thing for me. I love breakfast. Breakfast is so important to me. You know that. You've been around me. I'll eat a 3-course breakfast.
You love it.
But I always try to make like when I commit to it, I'm like, I'm gonna make myself a delicious bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich today. And without fail, the bacon is like, I'm always running behind on the bacon because it's like I'll bake it on a baking sheet, or I'll cook it, or bacon's either too fast or too slow. So now my new move is I take my egg out a little bit early. I'm like, it's almost done. And then I'm just like, I wait for everything to be done. And then I'm like, it's all going back in the oven. I'm rebake it. Like the egg will just get finished off nicely. The bread will get toasted. The cheese will get melted. The bacon will get more bacony. It's great.
You love some decadence.
Come here, Pete. Come on.
Who?
The foster dog, Peep. Come here, Pete. Come here. Come on. Hold on one second. Let me pick her up. Just make sure that door closes. Just my third dog. You know? Do we need?
You guys really rack up these dogs.
I know. Do you need another dog?
No.
Okay.
No, we don't. I have another new. Well, I have 2 new bits. One, just along the bacon lines.
Yep.
This is just a new bit for my show, not for. But the Clippers' new arena, they can tell like how much you're cheering.
Yeah.
If
You're into it. You're into it, Dome.
Yeah. So if you're, a really loyal fan and you make lots of noise, they give you prizes. You get upgrades and stuff like that. My show, the more noise you make, the more bacon you get. That's how that works. We keep track and we give you extra bacon. All right. So the other new bit that I have is I have a buddy and his friend got diagnosed with kidney cancer. That's fun. And she lives in LA. She went to her doctor out there and they say, you have kidney cancer and we got to get rid of your kidney. So
we got to get rid of your kidney. Kidney out.
Kidney's got to go. Good thing is we have 2 kidneys. But she didn't like that. So she came to New York for a second opinion. And the guys at Sloan Kettering said, you do have kidney cancer, but we can save the kidney. We just have to give you a little medicine. You get to keep the kidney. So then he said to me, what should she do? And I said, just keep heading east, right? Go to Europe. Maybe she doesn't even have cancer.
Yeah.
That'd be go to Japan.
Yeah.
You know?
I like to punctuate it with a swig of the whiskey.
Scotch.
Right. Scotch whiskey.
Scotch whiskey.
I have So I was just talking about the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So we have one dog, Bob, and Bob is a Great Dane that Charlotte adopted, and Bob's retarded, and Bob basically spends his whole day.
When you say retarded, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, he's a dumb goofy dog.
Gotcha.
He spends his whole day essentially licking his own dick raw. Just like, I'm going to lick my dick until it's raw. Until it's red and raw. And I'm just like, Bob is a 13-year-old boy, basically. Like, I understand that it feels good, Bob, but you're doing it to the point where you're damaging yourself. And you're in the moment, I'm sure it feels great. But also, you've rubbed it raw.
Yeah, you can't go to the point where you hurt yourself, Bob. You gotta be ready to play again tomorrow.
But
especially with you guys, because you never know, you get another dog in there.
Yeah. But I also realized something the other day with my other two dogs. We have Boom and Peep. Peep is the foster, and they're best friends, and they love each other. They're both girls, and they're not retarded, and they're not licking their dicks raw all day.
Right.
But I found, and I don't know what your relationship with your dog is, but I realized I kiss my dogs, not on the mouth, but like their heads,
all the time,
25 times a day,
easily.
And I'm like, I kiss my girlfriend once a day.
Yeah.
I mean, 25, they're getting 2,500% more kisses.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed is they basically get 5 a day, but they get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't know. I'm thinking, is this making my girlfriend feel some sort of way? I come in the room and I'm like, hey, you, like, and I'm like, hey, and how are you?
Yeah, it's a real thing, and I'm sure it's a real thing for a lot of people because it's in my relationship. It's a real thing. Like, she's jealous of the dog.
She is.
Yeah, and I also catch myself sometimes being like, man, I should probably be this loving towards my wife.
Yeah,
but. It's
I'll just come in and be like, you're the most beautiful. You're the smartest. You're the best. You're my best friend. I love you so much.
Yeah.
Every time I look at you, you fill me with joy. And that's my dog.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, what are you making for dinner?
Yeah, exactly. No, I catch myself like before. And I know it's also a thing with my wife. Like she's noticed, but like, I'm like, I got to do better than this because I'm so good to this dog and I should probably be capable to be this good with humans, because I think that's really what it is. It's where it's easier with the dog, it's a less complicated relationship. I've talked to my shrink about this. This is your bit. I've literally talked to my therapist about.
Well, I'll tell you what, I played 9 holes of golf today.
Mm-hmm.
My dog didn't call me one time. Didn't text me one time.
No.
My fiance, 12 texts.
And when you got home, your dog went bonkers.
Yeah. You have any other new bits?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
I've got one more. So I've noticed that the big difference between being broke, which I was for a very large portion of my life, and having money is that I no longer have a 6 to 10 day window where I'm trying to make something that I have like last, where I'm not like, yeah, this shampoo's not done.
Yeah,
like I can get it out. And it's like when you're broke, you don't want to spend $10 on anything. So you always extend it. You're like, I can get, and when you have money, your things overlap. Where you're like, I got a fucking shampoo ready to go whenever I decide. I could kick this I could just quit this shampoo right now if I want.
It's
and
true.
go with another shampoo.
It's a real luxury.
And the other thing I noticed about like the shampoo or the toothpaste thing is when I was broke, it didn't matter. This is like when I was broke, I would get down to the end of a shampoo and I'd be like, oh, I've got maybe like 5 shampoos left in here. And I'm like, so don't overdo it. Don't turn what could be 5 shampoos into 2. So then I'd be like, all right, just a dollop will do. And then I'm like, that's actually plenty of that's how much shampoo I should use every time.
Yeah. I
could probably get 200 shampoos out of a bottle instead of like the 30 I'm getting. And I'm always like, remember this. Remember, all you need is about a dime of shampoo.
Yeah.
And then the second you got a fresh shampoo, you're like, let's fucking double fisting shampoo. You're like,
yeah,
shampoo.
Shampoo, it's a little bit like a crackhead with their disability check. Like the beginning of the month, you go crazy.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize, like, I got to make this shit stretch. It's very similar. But I've thought about this the other day. I think there's a little bit of conspiracy with the shampoo people too, though, because the beginning comes out too easy. It just, and then you're like taking these giant shampoos early in the month, and then you start to
early in the month, I go giant shampoo, and then I'll just be like, this thing's brand new. I go, it does say rinse and repeat. I'm repeating. Let's repeat this shit. Like,
yeah, why not?
Fuck it. 2 shampoos.
That's another conspiracy too, by the way. Repeat.
Yeah, the rinse and repeat.
I don't even think you're supposed to shampoo your hair. Like, you're supposed to shampoo your hair like once a month. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what they say. That doesn't work for me.
You'll start to get itchy.
Yeah. Women love that. Women love to be like, only shampoo. Well, my hair is way better. My girlfriend uses dry shampoo occasionally.
Wow.
And I'm like, you just look dusty. You look like a witch in a movie.
I've noticed you going back and forth between girlfriend and fiance.
I don't say fiance mostly because I hate the French.
Right.
Yeah. But also it's just like, what are we doing? Funny enough, I said girlfriend on the Dirty Sports and Ruther corrected me and said fiance. And that's how my fiance's dad found out we were engaged.
Oh, wow. He listens.
Yeah, which is a whole other. He's probably listening to this right now, which is a whole other thing because Dirty Sports is mostly behind a paywall. Right. So I was like, are you paying to hate me? Because that's the best. That's the best kind of.
Yeah, that's Howard Stern hate.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So what did he do?
Disowned her, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I have a joke about it that I'm still trying to work out. I don't know. Have you seen me do this bit?
I don't know.
I do. I have a joke about how. So I've had many you know this about me. I've had many girlfriends of long. I have many long time girlfriends.
You're a serial monogamist.
Yeah, and it's never worked out. Obviously, with anybody, I've never been married. It's never it's never worked out with any of them. Every one of their dads loved me. Without fail, every one of their dads loved me. The fucking cowboy loved me. The hunter loved me. The fucking Midwest sports guy everybody loved me. Because here's the thing about Joe Prano. Joe Prano loves to sit down and drink a bunch of beers, watch football. I'm kind of OCD, so your wife's not leaving dishes in the sink when I'm around. I'm cleaning your house. Your house is going to be as clean as I need your house to be. So I'm cleaning your house. Hey, Joe, I'm thinking about renovating my garage this weekend. You ever hang drywall? Only 100 times. Yeah. Hey, Joe, I need this thing off a high shelf. Well, good news. I'm your guy. Hey, Joe, you like to golf? I do. I'm terrible at it. Even better. I'll golf with you and I'll be better than you. Fantastic. Hey, Joe, you like baseball? Not only do I like baseball, here's a Dirtballs password for the baseball package. You now get all the games. You can watch your Phillies anytime. Watch every home game, Bob. I've had tougher breakups with dads than I have with their daughters.
That's good.
Yeah. Dad's like, is there another dad? I'm like, it's not another dad. So, it's not you.
It's not you, buddy.
We've got to break up. He's like, you actually lasted longer than we thought you would. We were really hopeful, that she was going to do better by you. Like, I've had tough breakups with dads, but now dad hates me. Daughter, fantastic. Like, best woman I've ever had. Dad hates me. And my theory is, if you're a dad of a young woman out there, if you're a girl dad, be awful to your daughter. Diamonds are forged under pressure.
Yes.
Be terrible. You're going to shape a great person. As opposed to be great, you're going to shape a spoiled bitch that I eventually have to leave, and now you don't have fucking Phillies games anymore.
You're gonna if you're too nice, you're gonna create a spoiled bitch who makes you put too many pillows on the bed.
Yeah.
All right.
She hated it when I did.
That's a good bit.
Yeah.
It is. I like it.
Thanks. My fiance, here's my last new bit. And you know this about my fiance. She's not your typical, like, you wouldn't catch her in a sundress at like a brunch, She said to me one day, she goes, "Am I a bitch?" And I was like, "Babe, you're a super bitch." I was like, "It's like you were bit by a radioactive bitch." And now you have the strength of 8 bitches. Like, of course you are, but it's why I love you. So yeah, bit by a radioactive bitch.
I get that. That's tough for me because I don't think she's a bitch.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
She's nice. She sent me a message the other day on Instagram, just said, Slobodan Milosevic. And sometimes I send her that. Like, that's really all we ever send to each other.
I always send her Slobodan, you're a bitch.
There you go.
I don't have anything else. You have anything else?
Well, I can't help but notice there are times during this conversation where I felt you really look like Aaron Rodgers. And I'm wondering, did you see his documentary?
I didn't. I get it all the time. I get Aaron Rodgers all the time. I saw Aaron Rodgers at the golf tournament in Tahoe a couple years ago before he lost his mind properly. And I told him, I said, every time I'm here, people think I'm you. And he's like, that's hilarious. And I was like, I don't know if you're going to think this is hilarious, but I charge $20 an autograph. And he's like, get it where you can get it. I did not see his documentary. I think Ruther watched it and talked about it on Dirty Sports. I'm just like, he's another guy where it's like, I was the biggest fan of Aaron Rodgers' game forever. And I like Aaron Rodgers' opinions on certain things. Aaron Rodgers, and he kind of has admitted to this, and maybe this is in the thing, but to me, you know me, I've eaten mushrooms for decades. Aaron Rodgers is your kind of like, is your friend who was like never, whatever, that just did mushrooms for the first time, like at 40. And then he calls you up. He's like, bro, do you know about fucking mushroom? I'm like microdosing. And I'm like, here we go. I don't think 9/11 was a terrorist attack. I'm like, I don't think we're alone in this universe. I think there might be aliens. I'm like, I know, guy. Let me guess. Also, you have thoughts about the Egyptian pyramids? I don't have time for this. I don't have time for you catching up to 20 years of fucking conspiracy theories because you ate mushrooms for the first time.
Yeah, he does. He kind of seems a little lost.
He puts butter in his coffee because Joe Rogan told him to. 100%. You watched the documentary though?
I did.
And
you know, the first episode or most of the first episode, it's just hard for me to even watch it without just anger because he was so bad and the Jets are so bad. So like he would say something like, something about how great it is to be here or how great they're going to be because they're going back, and then they're obviously not great. So just felt a lot of rage. So it's hard to really identify. But then it's called an enigma, and he's an enigma. It's pretty spot on in that regard. Like he's this alpha athlete, but also this guy who's really trying to figure out who he is and why he's here. And he's a deep thinker. I respect that. I remember when I was in the minor leagues, we were at a hotel waiting to play that night on the road, and I'm just sitting in this hotel room with a bunch of people watching Jenny Jones, and everyone's just farting and saying dumb things. And I had this moment where I was like, is this it? Was this my dream? Like, this is it? Because this sucks. Like, I don't feel like I can have a serious conversation with anyone on this team. And I feel like he's a little bit like that, where he's a deep thinker, and I respect that. But the Jets suck, and
he sucks.
And he's been terrible for the most part.
And
he doesn't even seem to really care, which is kind of nice in some ways, but also it's nice if he's your quarterback, but he's my quarterback, and I'd like him to care,
That's kind of my issue with Aaron Rodgers too, is just like, it feels like the personality that he's trying to portray and the person that comes out are different. Like the guy who's like a deep thinker who like has all these things, or like an enigma, they don't typically like need the spotlight desperately. Whereas forget the documentary, which obviously is desperately needs the spotlight, but like I'd argue Aaron Rodgers should have never played football again post Achilles. Like, I'm not sure he just might be done, or because it doesn't seem like he's the kind of guy who's like going to get it together and be physically better like next year. But the idea that last year he was like, I might come back in November. I'm like, bro, I'm not sure you ever should have come. Like, it seems to me like that was all a lie, but you insisted on doing it just because like you need attention.
Yeah, I mean, he does seem like he needs a lot.
By the way, Joe Prano, Jersey Sports Podcast, won Johnson & Johnson vaccination. Sorry. If we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if you know this, you have to lead with your vax status. That was his request.
Oh, really?
If you're going to talk about me, you have to lead with your vax status. So Joe Prano once vaccinated Johnson & Johnson.
Pete Cestaro, I think twice vaccinated, but I'm not sure which one. It wasn't J&J, obviously. I think it was Moderna, but it might have been Pfizer. And I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers, I don't remember. It was a while ago.
I saw a great meme that was like talking about vaccination status in 2025, and it was Aaron Rodgers on the Jets. Because it's like, what the fuck are we still doing here?
Yeah, it's been a rough go.
So, do you have any hope for your Jets?
No. I mean, no. I have hope just because I'm a human, but no, I don't have hope for the Jets. It's a disaster. It's got to all be blown up.
How about your Yankees? A lot of people, the Yankees, I've never seen. I feel like the Yankee fans have reached this weird. I haven't seen this from Yankee fans before.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I just think it's Yankee fans have always just like puffed up their chest no matter what and been like 27 rings, get fucked. Now it's like this weird, like I couldn't believe, and I did multiple videos on Instagram, but I could not believe. Like there's no doubt about it. Like Juan Soto is one of the great hitters in baseball. I just didn't like the cope that came from Yankee fans was like something I never like. It's almost like, God, you guys have in one offseason, you lost all the luster that you had of just being like, we don't give a fuck. We're the Yankees. Well, he went somewhere else. Good luck to him. Whatever. Like all Yankee fans weirdly like turned into like, yeah, well, it's because he sucks. And you're like, all right. I don't think that's true.
That's certainly not true. But I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, although not that hardcore anymore. I was a lot more of a fan and followed more when I was younger. I don't get the games here with any regularity, although it sounds like I could now if I put in this code, which I will if you give it to me.
The code to
Yeah, the baseball dirty sports code.
Well, so here's the thing with your you are within the region that the Yankees play in. So you can't watch the Yankees on the baseball package. The only Mets games I can't watch are when the Mets play the Dodgers.
I might be out of the region because I'm in the Hamptons.
No way you're out of the region. But good news, I have a better workaround for you, and that is you sign into Mikey's DirecTV, and then you just get the Yes Network.
Okay, yeah, because I don't have the DirecTV. That's why I don't get the Yankees. But
I watch the New York local news every night.
It's great.
Yeah.
But you love, again, this is perfect for you because not only did the Yankees, who you love to fucking hate, did they lose their best hitter, arguably, and obviously Judge, but their best postseason hitter. But it also went to the Mets. So this is like Christmas morning for you.
Yeah.
And then you love to look for a fight with the Yankee fan and see, what they're.
What's funny is I didn't think it was going to. I thought everybody was going to be like, well, Mets try to make a name for themselves. They overpaid for they overpaid for Soto or whatever, or like whatever. But like, and then it's just like, listen, if Francisco Lindor, like perfect example. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles way more than I hate the New York Yankees. They signed Saquon Barkley. I'm like, they got a great player. Do I think that we should have signed him? No. There's no reason to pay $20 million for a running back that's on a terrible team. Do I think it makes the Eagles significantly better? Of course. Obviously it does. You can't say anything bad about Saquon Barkley. All of a sudden, Yankee fans being like, he can't defend. He's a glorified DH. He'll be a DH. I was like, man, you got to stand on a fucking pedestal forever. The first time it doesn't go your way, all of a sudden you're just like, no. I was like, God, one move, the Mets outbidding the Yankees. And I've said it. I was like, not so fun when the Rabbits got the gun, right? Like the whole world begged for a fucking salary cap. Now all of a sudden the Yankees are like, overpay. Blah, blah. I go, dude, you paid Derek Jeter $19 million when no one else would have offered him $9 million. This is the Yankees playbook.
You're saying a lot of things. I don't know that all of these things are true. I don't know that no one else would offer Derek Jeter $9 million. But I do agree with you that he's a great player. I also agree with you. I feel the same way about Saquon Barkley. Like probably too many years, like not the best contract. I'm glad that they went after some pitching. I don't know how good what's his face is going to be, the Little League World Series champion. The center fielder we signed, who's going to play it?
Oh, Bellinger.
But yeah, you're not going to fill that bat. But maybe Bellinger will be okay. But I also knew as a Yankee fan that Soto wasn't a great fielder. That's not saying much.
Sure.
He's still an incredible hitter, Right.
You know who's the worst fielder of all time? Derek Jeter.
I know you've said this before. And I don't. That's a tough one for me because that's when I used to watch all the games. And I understand that there's that stat that you bring up. But just watching the games, I don't remember Jeter
being error prone.
Well, not error prone. I just don't remember him not getting to balls that I felt like a lot of people would have gotten to that cost us. I remember him being really steady, really clutch. Like if a ground ball was hit to him late in the game, I felt like he was going to make the play. He's great at charging the ball, and throwing it across his body. He had that jump play that he would do in the hole,
which no one else did.
which no one else did, and I tried,
Because
and I couldn't really do.
yeah. Well, there's a reason no one else did it, because he had to do it to get people out on his backhand. He had to turn every ball that was 2 steps to his backhand into a running, jumping fucking play just to get guys out. Whereas Francisco Lindor would get to that ball, move through it on the backhand, and fucking set up and fucking hose a guy out.
I just don't remember Jeter's defense being a liability. I thought he was solid, and maybe statistically it doesn't play out, but they won a lot when he was there, and I don't remember him, maybe they would have won twice as much, you're saying, if he wasn't their shortstop. Like, I just don't think that's the case. I don't think it's a very strong argument, like, in that.
You know what's so funny? You played a couple of seasons, or a couple, maybe a season or plus with the horse tricks. A once dominant, a dynasty
Softball.
in softball. We had a shortstop, Dan Rubin. Solid. He made every play that was hit right at him. You could trust him. But you take Dan Rubin off the horse tricks and you put him on fucking Moe's whatever, they'd be like, this guy fucking. But we were like, we don't need you to do all that. We just need you to not kick a ball that's hit right at you. I'm in center field. We got Phil Kim on the mound. We got this guy here. We got that guy there. Cestaro's back. We got ball. Like, we didn't need him to fucking. That's Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter, it's like, just do. Yeah, but it's a very similar situation to, what, like, there's a reason Brian Cashman wanted Troy he was like, Derek Jeter was never the same after he said, I'll just go get Troy Tulowitzki. He's like, you think he's better than me? He's like, I know he's better than you. He's better fielder. He's better hitter. He's better fucking whatever. But, then people start, the captain. And then, first of all, he was the captain of one championship team. I don't know if you know that. One.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I also think there's way too much made of the captain and the clubhouse guy. Like, I don't think that shit doesn't matter to me. The guy did some great things on the ball field. I mean, he had a crazy career, dude.
No.
Great player.
Absolutely. And a terrible defender, apparently.
And I think I just don't think he was a terrible defender. And Soto, great player. Great signing for the Mets. He's going to hit a ton of home runs. Probably not be a great fielder. Maybe he'll move to DH at some point, but you'll be paying him until we'll be long gone, but they'll still be paying him. But that's fine.
Yeah,
you got
because
all
there's
the
no
money in the
salary
world.
cap in baseball.
Your owner has all the money in the world from bilking people out of their money. So
yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. And honestly, unless somebody does the right thing and shoots Steve Cohen coming out of his fucking office building, we're set forever. There's no salary cap in baseball. He's building a casino outside of the stadium. He's playing chess, not checkers.
Unless Emilio, shoots him in the back.
Yeah.
With a gun, and then doesn't pass go, doesn't collect $200.
Yeah. Unless the thimble takes out Steve Cohen.
I played Hampton's Monopoly with my wife the other day.
Is there a specifically Hampton's Monopoly board?
Yeah, there's a Hampton's
board. What is Broadway and Park Place?
It's ridiculous. Shelter Island and the Lighthouse. The Lighthouse I get. Montauk Lighthouse. Okay.
Montauk Lighthouse is Park Place?
Yeah.
And Shelter Island is Boardwalk?
Yeah, or vice versa. But
okay.
Shelter Island? Like, shouldn't it be like Further Lane and, Maidstone or something?
Yeah.
I don't know who made this game, but I got my ass handed to me and felt like a kid all over again. Like, I just got really bitter.
What about your strategy do you think led to that, or her strategy?
Nothing. It's complete and total luck. Like, every time we rolled the dice, we bought whatever we could buy until we both had what we had. And she just had all the good spots and I didn't. And then she just fucking buried me. Like, it's emasculating. It hurt and it bothers me. I don't like to lose like that.
Yeah. Also, you're out of work. You don't have money coming in.
Exactly.
It's real. It's a tough time to be getting your ass.
Been a little bit of a rough go for me lately as far as my self-esteem.
John also, as a child, did not take losing a Monopoly well. So John's go-to move when the end was nigh. Yeah, he would do it was like that. But he would do he would say natural disaster, and he would suck up all the houses and hotels into his mouth, and then he'd spit them across the room.
That's, very John, but that's great. I should have done that.
Well, great to check in with you, Pete. Glad that you're upright and you're back to drinking scotch and not Pedialyte, or you're not taking it through a catheter.
That's right. Me too, man. Me too. Nothing like taking a shower without a catheter. If you haven't done that, you haven't lived. That first shower after a catheter is like Christmas morning.
Before we go, I want to let everybody know a couple of things. One, there's a brand new jpp27.com. And when I say brand new, I mean it's redesigned. I learned some web design. I redesigned my own website.
Oh, I can't wait to check it out.
And I'm excited about it. So go to check out the new jpp27.com, including the shows section. I have a bunch of shows coming up, including January 31st, 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock, Last Best Comedy in Bozeman, Montana. One of my favorite clubs in the whole country. I love Last Best. Super small room. I don't have Nate Bargatze's problems. I don't have to do the arena in Bozeman.
Good for you.
I could do the 95-person theater in a basement. It's a super fun show. If you happen to be listening to this in Big Sky Country, come out and see me in Last Best Comedy. Probably do some snowboarding while I'm out there. And then also, I am the producer of the newly relaunched Jay Moore podcast, More Stories. So listen to the first episode out now. Listen to the episode coming out soon with his wife, Jeannie Buss. That's a emotional episode. I cried while we recorded that one.
Wow.
But it's just such a fun show. So rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe to the More Stories podcast. Come see me do a show. And follow Pete on all social media, especially Twitter. You're not going to get anything for 363 days, but 363 days from now, you're going to get my favorite tweet of the year.
Sometimes you get pitchers, catchers, and prostitutes report to spring training, but I forget to do that one. But I'll try to remember to do that one too. So you get two for the price of one.
Pitchers, catchers, and whores.
Pitchers, catchers, and whores. That's right.
Yeah.
Report to spring
I heard a great Norm bit yesterday. You've seen the moth joke that he did on Conan, obviously, but I saw another.
Yes.
I saw one that he did on Howard Stern about Dirty Danny or whatever, or Dirty Johnny. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It goes on forever.
It goes on forever. Yeah, I vaguely remember it, but I did see that, and yeah, that's Norm. We miss him.
Thanks, Pete. Say hi to your lovely wife, and give your dogs 20 kisses each for me.
I will. You do the same.
All right, I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Later.
Hey Joe, I like Joe's show. I tell everybody that's my shit. See, I had a long ride, turn the volume up high, and the time flew by so quick. I laughed out loud, that's what it's about. I really don't feel safe no more. And Joe stands out even in a big crowd, cause he drinks till he hits the flow. Hey Joe, it's time to stop the show. Pack it up and away we go. Donate cause we almost broke. Everybody, that was